Hi, my name is Fátima and I'm talking to you from Ontario, Canada. Thank you for being on that side of the camera. I'm very glad and grateful to be here. So today's episode 17 and I'm going to talk about where my project stands, some good things and some bad things. So I had my task of doing my one sock a week. I'm still late. So when I went to Brazil in February, I just made 2 socks out of 4 that I should have made. So these are my February socks that I finished. This is, and I used my hand spun, some yarns that I had for the longest time and I didn't do, and I decided to make them. And the reason I started my 52 weeks of socks was to use up my stash, but also to learn new techniques. So because I was in a hurry and I wanted to get to the commitment, I start using my stash that normally is thicker yarn. And what I like about this pair of socks, this is 1 strand of Corriedale, and I think 1 strand of a mohair blend fiber that I bought from Wellington Fiber. It's a place here in Canada that they have goats and they do the mohair. But the cool thing is that they have little boxes that they sell some woven, and the woven is normally mohair, a little bit of alpaca and a little bit of wool, and they're very, very nice. And I got this when I was starting my spinning, and I knew I wasn't good, and I wasn't good at all. So I have a lot of thick and thin, a lot of twist and areas that doesn't have that much twist. And I'm not even a pink person, but I love the socks. This is so interesting. I like the texture that now I'm not able to recreate because I'm a more experienced spinner now. But I really love the texture and I think they're very romantic. The other thing is I saw a pair of socks on a book that they had the top without just casting off without any ribbon. And I said, oh, that's not nice. But when I was knitting this, I thought this would be perfect. And I really love them. I can see myself with a white gown and wearing this to sleep, even though because of the mohair, I think it is still going to be a good yarn. Like it's gonna last for a while, but I do love it. So then I had this pair of socks that I had not enough, so I decided to gather them and just made a simple pair of socks, and this go very fast, so that was nice. So these were my February socks. For March, I only knitted 2 for the March. So I knitted 4 pairs of socks in March, but 2 were for February. And this is one of them. It's my hand-dyed, hand-spun yarn that I hand-dyed the fiber, and then I did Navajo or cable ply, and that's how I got the collars. And I think they turned out very nice. And then I was watching a Portuguese podcast. It's Meias with a Y. And Fabi is the podcaster, and she also is a designer. But she was mentioning that she made the socks, and she explained the stitches. It was from a German pattern that she understood more or less what to do, and I did mine. So what she said is that she used 9 stitches, and then you would have 1 knit, one purl, knit, but the pearls were taken from the back loop, And then she would do that for 10 rows. I did only 8, and then do purls everywhere. And I thought that it turned out really, really nice. I really like this pair of socks. And again, I'm using my hand spun. And I thought I would have to use less stitches because I thought she had made her socks with a thinner yarn, but I guess not, because this is still the same thing that she had. So she mentioned it. She didn't say what heel she used or the top. So I used the toe that I normally do. No big deal there, and the heel too. And what I like to do is I had 2 purl stitches on the corner where the needles are. I don't know why, but I like to do that. So I thought the socks turned out really, really nice. So thank you, Fabi, because they were really cool. So again, didn't do 2 socks for the March, and I'm putting all my socks in this basket that my sister gave me, my sister Vera. I went to the US for the dogs, and as usual, I came back with a lot of stuff. So this is the basket. And I'm not putting the hiding or weaving the ends, because I want to have all the socks here by the end of the year and to make gifts. So some things that were on that were off my needles, but we'll have to go back to them. And the sad thing is my sweater, my Linka sweater. So it's my fault. I dyed the red and I dyed the yellow. And for the red to get a very vibrant red, this is food dye. I thought I have to put a lot of dye. And when I washed and rinsed it, there was very little left over that would be normally considered okay. So, but just in case, after I finished my sweater, I decided to make another sample, an after the fact sample, and I washed it. And as you can see, it is perfect. No problem, no running, everything is good. So then I said, okay, I can put my sweater there and wash it. So not so much in the back, but in the front, the red dye ran. So I was thinking I could do a surgery here, but because this part is knitted very fast, I can just undo it. I just don't know much because this is the unspun or very lightly spun yarn. So I was wondering if this is going to come out nice. But fortunately, I still have all the yarn, the red and the yellow. So what I'm going to do is I am going to undo this and put in a pot the yarn that I have there in some of this, just to be sure, with vinegar, and I'm going to warm it up and let the dye stick more to the fiber, and hopefully it will be okay. So I was very disappointed. I had finished this long ago, and I was waiting for the podcast to do it. So this is something that was in my needles that I have to undo. The only difference I had here is that I did 2 short rows in the back, just so that the back would be a little bit upper. And because this is thick yarn, you can see that it worked fine. So I have to undo it and do it again. So that will be probably today, or tomorrow, because now that we are doing the podcast, it will be easier. The other thing I finished yesterday or the day before was my cardigan, and I was not expecting to like it, but I really like it, even though it's very colorful. I do like the cardigan. So the changes that I did with this is that I was supposed to knit the hood separate from the body and then sew it together. Because I don't like to do sewing, I did the hood, and then I started with a provisional cast on, and then I went on and did the rest. There are a few problems with that. One of the advantages of doing top down is that you can try it on as you go. The problem here is because of the hood, I could put it on, but I couldn't really see what was going on. So that was a little bit, not good. I could have sticked here because I had already done the protection, but I felt that would be better if I did the stick once I had finished the whole sweater, because then I would just protect and everything. So that's next on this. It's now off the needles, but it will go back. And I have a stitch marker where I was on my previous podcast. I was before the separation of the sleeves, and I did all the rest. And amazingly, the other thing is that sometimes I felt like, I want some knitting that I don't have to think. And I didn't have to think much about this one, because after a while you get so used to the pattern that you just do it. So that was pretty good. The other thing is, so when I was doing the pattern asked for you to increase stitches in the front when you were like 3 inches below the arm. You were supposed to start increasing a total of more 8 stitches on one side. And I think this is because it was supposed to be a longer cardigan, and I decided to make it shorter. So I took a leap of faith, and I decided not to do the increases, because I think it will work fine, and it does work fine. So when I was doing this, I was doing for a size 47, and then I put it on, and I decided that it was already ready on me, and I put it on with the hood on, but I could feel it. So I changed it for a size 44, and by the way I did it, I just reduced the number of increases that I had to do after the point that I was. So that worked well. The other thing is that in the front, I don't have to worry about the weaving in the ends, because the stick is going to cut. I did the thing right in the middle, so that when I cut, it's going to be okay. So I have enough here to do my protection of the yarn, and then do it. The other interesting thing is that I thought that when I was doing sticking, it would be better to never put the sticky stitches on a line, like always make it like this, like I did the hood. If you see the hood, they are, they're not on a line, right? They're one blue, where the blue is. Here is going to be a purple and then another blue. But the magazine was telling me to do it like this. So this is, and it's very used, my Interweave Fall 2017. That's the magazine. This magazine has a lot of interesting, beautiful sweaters. The only thing is the construction normally is into pieces, so I'm not that eager to do it. But this is the sweater, as you can see, the cardigan. And what drove me to do it was the hood. So in this magazine, they tell you to do it like this. And I think this is cool because when you are reinforcing the stitches or with the crochet before you do the stick, this is going to make it much easier because I can see the line that I have to go through. The other thing is, in the hood, I had misunderstood what Catarina of the podcast Vão da Escada said, that she uses the pearl, and I put the pearl right on the corner. And the way she does the pearl is because she sews, she does the protection of the stick points by going with a sewing machine. And then it's easier if you have a pearl line to see where your sewing machine has to go through. But the funny thing, I decided I was not going to use a sewing machine because I didn't have a sewing machine. My sister gave me one, the one, Vera, my sister that lives in the US, and gave me the basket. So as I said, I got a lot of stuff when I went there. But I didn't want to do with a sewing machine. But the funny thing is that in the magazine also, they mentioned that you should have a purl stitch in the beginning, right at the end of the parts, the cardigan and the part that starts the stick. And I have a feeling that this will make it easier for me to pick up the stitches. I don't know because I haven't get there yet. So I did the ribbon in the bottom, and it was too short, and I looked at it, I said, oh, it looks okay. But the problem is that it was flipping like this, so I didn't like that. But I left it and I went to do the sleeves. So when I got to the sleeves, I got to a point that it was this much short in my arm. But if I had done another series, another pattern that would be this much, it would be too close to the heel. So I decided, instead of doing another, I started to the ribbon before, and I did a longer ribbon that I like. So then it motivated me to also change the ribbon in the bottom to a longer one to do it. So this is done. I'm taking a break of this for now because this was intense, but hopefully by the next podcast I'll have done the stick and pick up the stitches. And this is the leftover yarn that I have, so this must be 100 and something grams, and I hope this will be enough for me to do the button thing. So that was in my needles, and we'll go back to my needles. Then another finished part, in a way, is in my spinning is this. So this is my Cormo alpaca yarn that I did, and I did a 4-ply out of it. But I read on the Cormo when I was preparing this, that preparing a video I was going to make on the Cormo, from Cormo to Cardigan, and they said that it fluffs up after you ply, and I didn't wash it yet, and this is already fluffed up, so I don't know. So this is I think it's a 4-ply that I decided to do 4-ply because I thought the 3-ply wasn't good enough. And let me just see one thing here. No, it's not here. And my plan from the beginning was to use it with a mohair, because I wanted to do something together with a mohair, but I didn't bring it here. So my plan was to use this with a gray mohair that I have and do something. I'm not sure yet what I will be able to do with it. I was thinking something simple, maybe just a garter stitch, but it's extremely soft. The other thing I was thinking, whenever I have sort of gray, I think of dyeing it because it gets the color and gives it a different depth. But I love the color, and that's what happens to me. I spin gray, I buy gray, and I hardly ever dye because I like the grays. What can I do? And this is very light. The other thing I did is I normally go to shows and I buy bags. So I had a few bags, and for this bag I didn't have the exact fiber, but I think it was a merino because it's very soft, and the staple was like this. Then I have this that I bought at Fibre Garden. It is South African fine. It's soft, although not as soft as that. And if you can see the staple, it's much longer. The other was up to here. You have this more. So it's still soft. It's a nice fiber. And what I'm thinking is, because I bought 1 pound that is 454 grams, I'm not able to do anything with this only. So I'm spinning it and keeping it separate from the other fiber that I spun. And I'm thinking of blending it together, like maybe 2 of this, 1 of this, and then the opposite. Because the thing is, each breed gets the color differently. So even if I put in the same pot, and I did this experiment once, I had a bunch of leftover spun yarns, and I put everything on a green pot, a green dye pot, and each one got a different shade of green. It was nice, but that's not what I want for this. So what I'm thinking is to spin some more so that I can get more fiber out of it. And I do have more merino fleece, not fleece, but top, that I can do it together. I even have Corriedale that is not as soft as merino, but it's, I think, the second soft, I would say. So I could do all of them so that when I dye, I get different colors in the yarn itself. But I haven't decided on that first. First I need to finish it. And I'm using my Ora spinning wheel for this because I'm lazy to change. Now my Hansen has the plying bobbin there. So I said I'll spin on this, use the ply, and then I'll change to use the other bobbins. So spinning wise, I have this. I haven't worked on this much more. I still have to do it, and that's okay. And what I had this saved for the longest time, and this is what was left over when I cleaned this yarn. It was really very little. I have to throw it out now. So this is my spinning here. Let me put this back. And then I have the rest of the work in progress. So my work in progress is a pair of socks that I started the last day of March and didn't finish. I'm using this book that is Alice Starmore Book of Fair Isle Knitting. And I love this book because it has a lot of Fair Isle borders that you can use. And that's what I'm doing with this. But I just noticed I made a mistake on the heel, and I'll have to undo both heels. But this is what the socks are looking like. The interesting thing in this socks is because I did 24 stitches here, and because this is a very thick yarn, the toe got very thick, and then I said, no, I cannot do 26, I have to do 24. So I reduced it again and did. And then I was thinking of the socks that I made for my daughter-in-law, Priscilla, and the socks were very tight. So I decided that I was going to make more rows so that there was more space for it to go wider. And then I decided that I was going to do 9 stitches on the heel, increase, because I have 24. So the rule that I have is that you divide it by 3, and that's the number you're going to increase. So I had 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I would increase 8 stitches on each side, and then decrease 8 stitches on each side, and I would get my 24 back. Didn't work well. So somehow I made a mistake in this that I now have to undo. And then I was checking here and noticed that I have the right number of points, but I decided to do this stitch pattern and it didn't work. So I have to undo the heels up to I get to my 24 plus 16 stitches on both, and then start them again. The other thing is that I was doing this. I started with this sock, and I was choosing as I go. So because I get bored, so I chose one, chose the another, and then I thought to myself, you should put a mark to know which pattern you used. And I didn't. I said, oh, I will remember. And I made a caca, and I couldn't remember which one was. So I decided not to threaten it so much, to be, worry about it. And I did a different stitch here. And I liked that because that made me, try another one. And then I did this ones here. And then I just followed the same thing. But even the color, because the color is slightly different, you can see the greens and yellows in the original fiber. So it makes them look a little bit different. But I will work on it, so we'll undo and do it again. The other pattern that I'm working on, so this would be sock number 3 of March. Oh, before I forget. So, the Portuguese podcast, I am really getting a lot into the Portuguese knitting community. It's very cool. And Tanya, she called Bola de Pelo. She's doing the creativity socks. So we meet every 6 of each month for 12 months. And each meeting we should make 6 rows. And normally what the point there is that you have 6 different colors, and then you get the colors each month. Each color has a feeling. So if you're feeling creative, you use this color. If you're feeling serene, you use another color. And I started with green, and then I used the yellow. But I love these 3 colors so much that I want my whole pair of socks to be on these 3 colors. So what I decided to do, because I missed their meeting in February, I was in Brazil, and in March I was going to participate, and I took the socks to the US with me, but we were on the road on the time of the Zoom meeting, so I decided I didn't do it. And this month, April, I was there, and And so we did it. But I decided that my creativity, instead of being using different colors, I'm going to use these two colors, but in different ways. And I do like it. It's supposed to be ready in November, so this is going to be one of my November socks. You see, I had other colors here, but I'm not going to use them because I really like this, the gray, the yellow, and the green. And I think I have enough yarn for the two things. So this is the creativity socks that I'm working on. Then the other thing that I started was the Opus shawl from Max. And this is what I have done so far. I just started. I really, really like this effect. I'm not so sure about the back. I'll have to hide. But the funny thing is that I am looking forward to the point that the shawl is big. I have a few issues with the shawl. When I was in Brazil, I was getting my Fios da Fazenda skeins, and I was so excited that I opened the pattern, and I read you need two of this color, one of that, and I didn't even notice that he was saying for you to get the sport weight. I got the DK weight. So I also started looking at Ravelry for people that have done the pattern, and most of the people said that what they had was not enough yarn to do the pattern. So I am in that position now that I know for sure that I will be short of yarn. So, because I was supposed to have more yardage to do it. So what I decided to do is I am going to go on until I am short of the first yarn, and then have a feel of how much yarn I have left, and then decide to, and then I will buy more and have it sent to me. So, but still, I'm excited. I'm not in the point that I have memorized the pattern yet, because I did a little bit and then I was working on the other yarn. But I think that it's getting better in terms of not having to look so much. I'm looking at the written part instead of the chart. Normally I prefer to read the chart. I got a little bit lost in the chart, so I'm doing the written part, and then I will try to go and see what I didn't understand. But I think it's beautiful. I'm so looking forward to have this shawl done. I really, really like the effect. The other thing is, because it was to use with a sport weight, they were saying to use needles 375. Because mine is decay, I started with 4, but I thought that the 4 was getting too hard, so I changed it to the needles number 5, and I think it's giving me a little bit more softness, because that's what I want in a shawl. I don't want it to be stiff. I want it to be more drape and stuff. So number 5, I think is okay, and it's not too whole. And I did a little sample before, but a little sample doesn't work. So so this is the other thing. And talking about samples, I was watching another Portuguese podcast. It's called Knitting for a Happier World, and it is with Filipa Carneiro. She's a Portuguese knitting designer, and Liliana, she works for a yarn maker there. It's Rosários 4, I think. And it's a very nice podcast. So they have some podcasts that are about measurements, or in this case, they did a podcast about samples. And I decided to do the samples. So I bought this for my husband in Newfoundland last summer. And this is definitely superwash. It says to hand wash in cold water, or maybe not. Maybe it's not superwash. Maybe it's the cashmere milk. It's 75% merino, 15% cashmere, and 10% milk. But it's a yarn that when I make my ball and I start using it, the ball just disassembled it. So cake or ball. So I decided that it doesn't say superwash anywhere in the label. So this is for my husband, and I really would like it to fit him. So I decided to do a sample. And what Philippa said is that a sample should be at least 12 centimeters high and bigger than the reel. So if they're asking for you to do 13 stitches for you to get the 10 centimeters, you should do at least 20. So for this one, I decided to do 50 stitches, and then I think it's 13 centimeters high. And I used the needles. And I have a problem because normally I have many notebooks. I love notebooks. So I write things and then I lose the notebook. But this time I wrote on my Knit Companion in my tablet because it's always there. And then I know. I made on the top here a row of purl so that it makes it automatically want to fold. And I like the thing that it causes on the outside. I really think it's cute. So now I have to, when I'm doing the next row, I just want to put them together with the row below and then start the cardigan. But I wanted to do the sample. I know this goes through the head easily, and because it's ribbon and it's double, it's gonna stay in place. But I wanted to be sure about the rest, how many stitches I'm going to do. So it's going to be a simple sweater, garter, stock neck stitch. And I think this is going to be nice because the needle I'm going to use is 325. And I want to, the sample was good in terms of what I got. Like in the label, they're telling me to use 275. And this is the Julie Estlin Lanet Fuse Yarn and Threads. It's very, very nice. So very soft. I think it's going to be nice, and it's going to be that kind once I pass the top, because it's top down. It's going to be that knitting that I can watch TV and just knit, and it's going to be perfect. The other thing is, last summer I have gotten in my Halliburton store this yarn, and I had done a bunch of it. I had already separated and start the bottom, and I decided to frog it because I didn't like the texture. And the other thing is I didn't do a sample, and because this is 55% bamboo, 37% cotton, and 8% PBT. Who knows what PBT is? Let me see. I was afraid that when I would wash it, it would grow too much. So I decided, I made a sample, and I want to do a t-shirt from a Brazilian designer, Iris Lassi, and the t-shirt is, I forgot the name of the t-shirt now, but I want to use this yarn. So I bought her pattern, and I see that she uses number 4 needle. And number 4 needle for this is too much. This should be a 325 for you to get the thing. So I'll have to do some math to be able to use her recipe, her pattern, but I think that will be great. So this is something that is now, I did the samples, they are drying. Right now I left them in the water through the whole night, and now they're drying for me to see and mark down on the thing, and I think that would be great. So now the only part missing is acquisitions, and I forgot to say one thing about this cardigan that I just remembered. So I don't know, probably many of you watch Fruit Knitting Podcast, and I remember that Andrea said that when she's doing a color work, she weaves in while she goes, so that she just have to cut at the end. So I decided to do the same. I watch her podcast. So if you see here, the points are far from the center. This is the center, right? So these ones I just need to cut down. But I noticed two things. First thing is that it delays me when I'm doing the process. And the second thing, I think that sometimes the point here at the division, it gets a little bit loose. So I watched another podcaster, I don't remember her name. It's an English podcast. And she mentioned that it would be better for you to get the stitches and then tie them afterwards. And this one still looks a little bit loose. And I'm going to let it undo. Because then you can push the stitches together to avoid any kind of opening. I don't have much opening if you look here, but I do have some that doesn't look very tied together. So for this reason, I decided that I was going to do it like this, that I would leave it, and then I will go line by line, row by row, and then tie them and then hide them. And I think this will do a better finishing for me. So maybe I have to get better on the other thing. And I remember that because Fruit Knitting had an interview last year. No, I think it was before the COVID, probably was 2019, with Post Queen. And he does double knitting. That's his speciality. And I loved some stuff that he made. And because I am a patron for Fruit Knitting, I had a discount to get this that would give me a free shipping in the US. And the shipping to Canada from the US at the time was extremely expensive. It was more expensive than the books itself. So I decided to get the books and send it to my sister. And then I didn't pay for the freight because the discount covered the freight. But with the COVID, I haven't been to the US. We couldn't go for 2 years. So we went now there, and I got the books. I haven't done anything yet, but I do two things that I would like to do is double weaving and double knitting. So I'll start with the double knitting, that I think it's easier, but I have some plans. Then if you had seen my interview with Michigan Fine Yarns, I was only able to behave myself in that store because I had just come from Brazil and I had bought a lot of yarn there, so I had to behave. So I just bought this made in Turkey Superba vintage. It is 75% wool, 25% polyamide. So it's sock yarn. So my idea of my socks, one sock a week, came from the book, 52 Weeks of Socks. But it was an idea to learn new techniques and to use up my stash. Instead, I'm buying more sock yarn. So, I don't know. I think there's no solution to my addiction. My husband is doing this on the other side. So this is my acquisition. And, and I have one. So we sold a car that we had. We had a Civic, and then in February 2019 we bought our pickup because we were planning to travel. And then COVID came and I work from home. We didn't travel, and we had 2 cars, and we didn't need 2 cars because wherever we go together 97% of the time. So we decided to sell the car, and as a gift to ourselves, we were going to get something for us. And what I did, I went to my local store, Knit 3 Together, and I got this Chiago kit. And it's funny because I thought, I don't like this. And it's one of those things. I didn't like this because I didn't know how to use it. Like, I had bought a pair of needles that came with this, but I would attach it, and while I was knitting, to the cable, and while I was knitting, it would undo. And I thought that little cable that you receive, the metal thing, let me get it here. I thought that this metal thing that you get was to put here, right in the hold. Where is my hold? Oh, it has to be a narrow one. And then you would twist this thing and get it tied up, but it's the opposite. I don't know. The way it works is you use this as a leverage, and then you do the other thing. I have thinner ones. I don't know why this one is. Maybe it's because it's the 2.5. Let me get another one here. My 4.5. Okay. Gosh, I think I got my other ones and not the right ones. So let me see what's going on here. But anyway, so the point is that you use this as a lever, and then you change the stuff. And I thought it was so cool because the kit, initially, if you look, it's cheaper to buy like this. But the cool thing is that, so to buy one needle, like I pay $15, $16, $17 per needle, and the kit was $180, and you come with 7 needles. But I thought it was so cool because I have a bunch of needles, as you can see here. All of this is knitting needles, but the ones that I don't use anymore because I prefer the Chiago. But the point was to have these needles to put, when I separate the arm, I have the needles in the arm, but whenever I'm knitting, those needles come in the way. So the Chiago has this stop points that you put at the end of the cables, and then it stops. And I thought, wow, probably you are all used to that, but I was not. So that was an aha moment for me. So I'm very happy with my purchase. It turned out really cool. I've been using it a lot, and I really, really like it. So this was my purchase, and then I decided to keep in this bag that my husband got at a Value Village long ago, because I don't know, I think he liked the design, and now I use it to keep my needles. And that's a good way because I have all the needles that I need here. The other thing about this is that I was doing the sleeves and I had some small, some 4 inches needles. These are 5 inches, so I bought the kit with 4 inches. And I was trying to do the sleeves with this 5 inches and they were too big and uncomfortable. It was not good enough. So I got the 4 inches and that was just perfect. So I might go and get some different, they even have the 3 inches one. So I might get them. And then in my bag I can put my needle gauge, right, that I got from Catarina from Vão da Escada. And then I also put my stitch markers here. So this is good because I have everything together and easy to go. So I really like this. Other than that, it's a springtime. It's funny, I was watching Mariana from Meias Marias, and she was mentioning that spring is in the air, and then she lives in Portugal, and then they have flowers and stuff, and what we have is mud. So spring for me is the least desirable month in the year. It has some advantages, but for me the biggest thing is that in March we start to have the warmer days and they melt the snow, and then temperatures drop down -6, -10 at night, so you have ice. So it's very dangerous to go out. I know a lot of people that fell and hurt themselves seriously. And it's really difficult when it's ice in your driveway. Even to get to the car, it's very dangerous here. And then when temperatures get better, then the snow melts and then you have mud. So it's tricky. The good thing is that now we had, when you have, in the spring, when you have temperatures of 2 degrees, 4 degrees, it's warm, because our winters go from normally -10 to -40 sometimes with the windshield. So when you get -5 or 0 degrees, you say, oh, it's so nice. And it's really nice. The air is nice here at this time when it gets a little bit warm. But then in mid-May, we have so many bugs that it's not pleasurable to be here. So, but this is a spring. So yesterday, I think we had 12 degrees. A lot of the snow melted. And this morning we woke up, everything was white again. But it's now getting out. Other than that, life is good. I'm grateful to be in Canada. I'm hoping now that something good happened for the Ukrainian people, that the war ends, because both sides are suffering. And that's it. I wish you to be well, in good health and in peace. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Bye. This way. one you might be able to move. This is the path.